we have to understand what the education system is truly after in wanting to educate our kids, and that is to create an activist. When she said education justice, it's looking at like this idea of critical education or critical education pedagogy. Like there is this idea of how education should go. Is education equitable? Who are the ones who are on top and who are the ones on the bottom? It's all based on this power structure and power dynamic. Children are using their power to return banned books and to tell people what they need for an equitable learning environment. I am not saying that children cannot participate and acknowledge some of their needs, but I can't rely on a child to tell me or to completely create the environment by which they learn. I also have to understand that, I went to school for, 4, 8, 10 years, whatever, to be able to understand what will be an environment that will create a learning opportunity for all students, not just for minority students. But yet we uphold this idea that minority students, because of history, now need to have an equitable institution that will, to a degree, disenfranchise white students, but then be able to give students of color, Black students, a leg up. I don't know that that is what we truly need. Now, I have read other studies from people who, are like anthropologists and sociologists who look across the board, across, racial lines, across socioeconomic lines, and we can have conversations about other reasons why minority children might be doing better or worse in certain categories. But the idea that we have to create an equitable learning environment across the board and that we are going to teach children basically how to march. She used that in one of her sentences and things like that. We have to understand what the education system is truly after in wanting to educate our kids, and that is to create an activist. And yet, you would think that because she's Black, you would think that in Black-run, school districts and districts where everything is primarily minority teachers and things like that who are, doing good work in the inner city, that we would have some of the best and highest rates because we are doing everything possible, or like grades and rates and things like that. But that's not what we see. So it makes me ask the question, why? She's up here spilling out her heart, and saying we are the ancestors and we're going to leave a more equitable nation or a more equitable education system. And that's great to leave something, for the future. But what are you doing for right now? Because right now, our students aren't doing well. And we can't blame racism for why they're not doing well when you're in an all-minority district and you have minority teachers. And so and the president of the NEA is a minority. And so we just have to ask other questions and not be so quick to buy into the conversation of, well, they're minorities, and so we need to, participate according to the low bar theory. Like, well, if we just lower it a little bit, then everybody else will be able to get up. There's something else. There's something else. And I think as we have conversations here at the Center for Biblical Unity, part of my heart is to really research, like, well, what if it's not about race? What else is there? What is the evidence? We don't just want to jump on board and believe, well, because people are disenfranchised or because minorities were disenfranchised, Blacks were disenfranchised, Jim Crow slavery and things like that. So now here we are today, still continuously disenfranchised. I would say that that's not actually true. And we can't continue to look back to history and blame history on today's problems when we are, X amount of years outside of slavery, X amount of years outside of Jim Crow and the civil rights movement. We have to ask other questions. And part of my questioning starts with someone like the woman we just saw. What is your boots on the ground plan to be able to help the kids that I was with this weekend learn to read? You can't just talk about the future if you're not, doing something for today.